Hi friends, welcome back to my series where I talk about work-life productivity and how I'm applying a lot of the startup lessons that I've learned into building and growing this channel. Today we are going to talk about why deep work matters and how to get into your creative flow state. If you're new here, I'm Melissa. I am a marketer at a hypergrowth tech startup. I have been a founder as well as an angel investor in Silicon Valley for over 15 years. There's a famous book by Cal Newport that I am listening to right now called Deep Work. The key concept in this book is having focused, uninterrupted time in order to produce great results. Now, there are 4 different ways that you can achieve deep work. One could be for long stretches or periods of time where you are away, where you can just focus and produce something meaningful. Another way is to have certain blocks throughout your day, whether that's the first 4 hours in the morning or late in the afternoon. Or there are days where you don't take any meetings. Let's say all of your meetings are stacked for Tuesdays and Thursdays. Now, for a lot of us who work in tech, what ends up happening is we are only able to squeeze in an hour at a time throughout the day for deep, uninterrupted work between meetings. As I'm entering my new creative entrepreneur era, I have found that I'm not able to get a lot of deep work, especially as we are now forced or highly encouraged to return to the office with RTO. And so I still end up going to the office 50% of the time. And I actually see my office time not as a place or as a time for me to get heads down work, but for me to really meet with my coworkers, build and deepen these work relationships, and then also contribute to the community and culture in the office. When I need to get really deep work, I have to go home and get some heads down time. And it is only during these periods where I'm home in a quiet room like this that I can really produce the work, the high quality work that is expected from me at my job. Now, applying this to YouTube and thinking about how I'm creating this content, I often have to shoot this during the weekends. So Saturdays and Sundays are my greater shooting videos time. And I have to shoot this actually in the morning so that I can get some natural sunlight in. I have tried to shoot this in the evenings, but it just does not work for me and I did not like the results. And so what I do is I shoot on Saturday and Sunday morning, and then I can do my editing time in the evening where it's quiet and it's conducive for me to just do video editing. I often think about following your energy and where your creative flow takes you to achieve a project or a task that needs to be done. 50% of the time, I like to just follow whatever my mood tells me to do, because it is much faster for me to, let's say, create a blog post if I do it when I'm in the mood to write a blog post. Now, of course, there are some external factors or considerations, like if there's a deadline, even if I do not feel like writing, I will have to then write it because the deadline is coming up. So in a perfect world, you're able to plan and start with enough time that you can really follow your energies and let your creativity take you to where it wants to go. I think the worst situation to be in is when you do not have the creative energy to do something, but the deadline is right there. And so then you are forced to work on that thing while not being inspired and motivated to do it. Now, I have been in that position, obviously. And so my hack for that is to really brute force it with AI. So now as a marketer, I have used AI tools to help me get started. And I will often jot down some bullets and then ask the AI tool to create something based on these rambling thoughts. And once it's created a first draft, I can then use that draft to refine, build, and edit upon it. Now, typically, sometimes you end up throwing that whole thing away, but it's really just like getting started that is often the hardest part. The law of inertia says that what is in motion will stay in motion, and what is in rest will stay in rest. And sometimes you just need to get you something started to get into motion so that you can continue moving into motion. So I'm going to share with you my schedule and how I plan my deep work and creativity time so that I can do my job, my full-time job, as well as build my side hustles. And so I mentioned that Saturdays and Sundays are when I end up shooting these videos and when I can have like my creative time, because I have not interrupted with work meetings. So I shoot the videos early in the morning, my early morning, so that I can get some sunlight in. And then once I'm happy with the recordings, I will often edit in the evening or the next day. And I will spend a couple hours editing, doing the first pass, and then I'm ready to hand it off to my editor. Now, going to my work week, what ends up happening is, for my day job, I have lots of meetings. I work with a global cross-functional team, and so being in Pacific time, a lot of our meetings are in the morning. Ideally, in a perfect world, I would have loved to have no meetings in the morning because I do my best thinking, and I feel like I have all the creativity in the morning, and I don't really want to be wasting that creativity by just passively listening to other people talk at me at meetings. However, there are ways that I have been finding so that I can really best make use of those mornings. And one of them is really leveraging the Zoom recordings and the AI companion. And so what I've been doing is watching the recordings in the late afternoons or in the evenings, similar to how you would listen to a podcast. And so I can then save my brain power and creativity in the mornings to do more of the creative work, things that I need to write, or if I need to be thinking about something that's related to work, I will do that first thing in the morning versus being in a meeting and just passively listening. So I end up listening to the recording of that meeting in the evenings, or I just read the AI companion, which is a summary of what happened in that meeting. One thing that I do is have big blocks of focus time on my calendar. Now, obviously, people can send me a meeting request if they want to over that time, but it just kind of gives a signal that I am really trying to get work done during this time. And I prefer to really block all of my meetings or stack all of my meetings Tuesday, Thursdays, all in a bunch, rather than scatter them throughout the week in my calendar. My MacBook is also in permanent focus mode. And so what that means is that I do not get any alerts if I get a Slack message or if I get a text message. I feel like I don't really need those alerts because I check Slack frequently enough, within the hour usually, and then I will catch up on things. This helps me complete a task rather than be distracted by hearing constant dingings in my ear while I'm trying to get work done. So what I'm trying to say here is that in order to produce really great work, you really need to have deep focus time. Great work does not happen in between meetings. Of course, people can prove me wrong if they want to, but I just don't think that you can produce really high quality, meaningful work within just an hour that's squeezed between back-to-back meetings. That rarely happens. And so the things that you can take away from this video is, as you're thinking about how do you produce quality videos or quality work at your day job, you need to make some sacrifices. Those sacrifices could be having to work on the weekends, Saturday or Sunday, where you are not being interrupted by other people, or you will have to wake up earlier, 1 to 2 hours earlier than you normally would, or work 1 to 2 hours later in your day when the kids are asleep, and that's where you can get quiet time. But you do need to make sacrifices in order to get this deep focus work available on your schedule if you work at a large company. The second thing you could do is to politely decline meetings where you are not an active participant. So oftentimes, big companies will have all hands where there are 100 or more people in that Zoom. While they highly encourage you to be there, if you have a deadline and if you need to get something done, you can just watch the recording. You do not have to be there in real time. I think the most important thing is that you get the information, you absorb the information and apply it where it's needed within your job. Other tips that you can do is to compress your meeting time. For some reason, Google just automatically sends 30 meeting calendar invites. You can adjust this to their speedy meetings, which are, I think, 25 minutes. And I think I've actually cut mine down to 20 minutes. You could even cut it down as short as 15 minutes to be the default meeting time, and it's more of a stand-up. Consider making your meetings bi-weekly, meaning every other week instead of weekly, or even monthly. And then finally, if you actually don't really need the meeting, don't be afraid to cancel it. You could just cancel the meeting and tell the group that, hey, you have nothing to talk about this week, and so you're gonna save it for next time or catch up async. By applying a lot of these tactics that I've shared, you can then begin to carve out some time for yourself to create solid blocks of deep work where you can be in your creative flow and focus. Now, once you're in your creative flow, then you can start to produce great work that you can be proud of. And you will know when you're in creative flow because things just come so easily. Like writing, just like you can write something really wonderful in 1 hour and not get writer's block once you're in this state of creative flow. You can shoot a YouTube video in 1 take if you are in this mindset. And so whatever it is that you need to do, make it a priority to block off time on your calendar, in your schedule, so that you can produce high quality work. I hope this was helpful. I will catch you in the next one, and I'll see you soon.